This episode is brought to you by Fond Recollections. Cherish the fond memories of your loved ones with their interactive living obituary.
Ever since he came into our lives, he became one of the family. But now he's gone. Time goes by so fast, I wonder if she'll remember him as she grows older without him. Fond Recollections offers us a chance to remember him when he was young and full of life. With Fond Recollections memorial plaques and website, we can upload all our photos and videos of him. Visit fondrecollection.com today and cherish the happy memories of your loved ones.
Chapter 2, My Day, My Way. Teresa Davis is a paradox of a woman, a beautiful brunette with an hourglass silhouette-like body, well-liked and brainy. She's a highly educated medical professional who works long hours as a specialized trauma unit nurse. She appears to be every bit as elegant as her impressive profile would imply. That is, until she opens her mouth. People are always shell-shocked when they hear Teresa speak for the first time. Then they laugh. Urban to the core, Teresa is every bit as down-to-earth as her sister likes luxury. She knows what she wants and isn't ashamed of her choices. She's persistent, resourceful, and hardworking. Whatever Teresa wants, Teresa gets. Even though she is bold and blunt, it somehow comes off as endearing instead of abrasive, giving Teresa her own unique brand of charm. Judy and Teresa are different as two sisters can possibly be, but both love each other and enjoy spending time in each other's company. Teresa, who recently became aware of her sister's wedding engagement, also fantasized about her wedding day as well. It also just so happened that they both got asked for their hand in marriage the same week. Her sister always fantasized about being a princess for her big day, wearing a white traditional ball gown at a fancy venue for her large wedding. She made her portion of the wedding scrapbook as kids to look like a wedding of the royals. A traditional wedding was the last thing Teresa wanted. She wanted her wedding to be a blast, a fun, raucous party with all her favorite people drinking, dancing, having a blast with each other. Her plans for her big day were a bit unconventional, but they suited her perfectly, and no one was going to convince her to change a thing. Not even her future mother-in-law, Mary Boyd, whose vision for her big day seemed to coincide more with Judy rather than Teresa. Teresa's wedding proposal was just as surprising as her sister's. Her boyfriend Victor Boyd went the traditional route by getting her stepfather's approval to marry her before he proposed. Victor's family was wealthy and believed in traditional values. Both his parents were lawyers, and he continued that tradition. His law firm, Boyd Crest and Associates, was well known and respected in the community. On the day of her engagement, Teresa and Victor were volunteering to help kids obtain their school supplies before the start of the school year. The two met during a volunteer event 2 years earlier. Victor was intrigued by her beauty and her raw attitude. He never encountered a woman like her before and made it a point to pursue her during the event. As for the wedding proposal, Victor had the kids present her with a special award plaque for donating her time to help the back-to-school volunteer event. She was surprised to get a gift from the kids, but was more shocked to read the words on the plaque. As she started to read the plaque out loud to everyone, tears began to fall from her eyes. She continued to read the words, "To Teresa Davis, will you do me the honor of being my wife?" Victor immediately dropped to one knee and presented her with the biggest diamond ring anyone there had ever seen before. Teresa could no longer hold the plaque as she immediately said yes and allowed him to place the ring on her finger. The crowd of kids and volunteers all had sacks of confetti hidden in their pockets that they broke open and spilled in the air to celebrate her decision. They all then started to cheer and clap for the couple, and just like her sister Teresa, she had found her Prince Charming. Today, Teresa sighed as she tried to focus on what her mother-in-law was saying to her at the other end of the telephone. She had to meet her mother-in-law, Mary, later to discuss the wedding plans. Teresa was doing her best to include her for the sake of her fiancé and her future in their family. Teresa's fiancé, Victor Boyd, was the love of her life. She had been in love before, but had never felt for anyone else like she felt for him ever in her life. Every other relationship in her life before meeting Victor felt trivial and incomplete. So, it was for Victor's sake that Teresa was trying to have a civil conversation with her mother-in-law. Mary Boyd was a refined, older woman with rich taste and plenty of connections. Teresa hoped she wouldn't disappoint her too much before her big day. Teresa was a bit anxious at first because she wasn't sure Victor's family would accept her. After all, she was white and they were black. They weren't too happy about this at first, but she quickly realized that it had little to do with her race. Mary just didn't approve of Teresa's ghetto attitude and had begrudgingly accepted her because she realized her son was crazy about her. Mary's taste was a little too opulent and grand for Teresa's comfort, but if she was willing to compromise for Teresa, Teresa would compromise for her. It was almost time for her to get ready to meet her for lunch. She chose a nice pencil skirt with a white designer top to look classy for her future mother-in-law. Even though Teresa usually liked to dress more casually when she was not in scrubs, she thought that Mary would appreciate her sartorial efforts. Teresa was waiting at the corner booth of the upscale Italian bistro Mary had chosen for lunch when she finally appeared, a cloud of expensive perfume wafting in with her. Mary Boyd was wearing an elegant lilac cardigan with a matching skirt that really complemented her chocolate brown complexion. She wore a short, sleek bob weave that accentuated her sharp cheekbones, and her skin was remarkably smooth for her age. She was curvy, but no one would ever call her fat. She exuded an aura of strength and quiet dignity, a quality that her fiancé Victor possessed as well. "Hello, Teresa. How nice to finally see you again," Mary said stiffly, the kiss she planted on Teresa's cheek purely perfunctory.
"Hey, future mother-in-law-to-be. You're looking senior sexy,"
Teresa exclaimed. Mary grimaced as she sat down in her seat, not appreciating Teresa's comment about her age or appearance. Teresa could almost read her mind from her expression, which plainly said she wished her son was marrying someone classier than she was. Teresa quickly disregarded her expression, took a deep breath, and smiled at her. "Miss Teresa, we have a lot to discuss regarding the wedding," Mary said wryly. "As you are marrying my precious baby boy, I expect the wedding will be an elegant affair. I would like to hear what you have in mind. I was thinking that you may appreciate some of my experience and choices for your affair." She pursed her lips and looked at Teresa pointedly. Never one to falter away from a challenge, Teresa looked her dead in her eyes and said,
"Well, Victor must have told you that I'm not really interested in a traditional wedding venue or fancy food. I just want everyone to have fun at the reception. So that is my focus. Oh, and my custom-made peach wedding dress, of course. It's so fly. I mean, beautiful."
Mary looked like someone had pulled a chair from out underneath her. "Peach dress!" she gasped, horrified. She took a sip of her Chardonnay to pull herself together. "Darling, peach is just so not bridal," she said cajolingly. "I thought we could have a beautiful indoor wedding instead. Maybe in a grand cathedral or any historical place. We could cater the wedding for, say, about $20,000. Just imagine. It would be a wedding experience for the ages." Mary paused and looked at Teresa snobbishly. "Only then will it be a wedding worthy of my son." Another woman might have caved under the intense pressure of Mary's icy gaze, but Teresa stood her ground. Instead of being rude, she just smiled sweetly at her and said,
"That sounds nice, Mary. But let me remind you, it is my wedding, and your son will do what makes me happy. So let me tell you what makes me happy."
Teresa said as politely as she could, tapping her nails on the table.
We're going to have my wedding at a public park. Don't worry. It's going to be on the rich side of town. Best part is it's not going to cost me anything. I just need to call the Park and Recreations Department for the city to reserve a gazebo 2 months in advance, and I'll be good,
Teresa declared confidently. Mary turned pale at the suggestion. A public park, she said, as if Teresa had suggested getting married in the sewers.
And let me tell you about the food.
Teresa continued, pretending she had not heard her remark.
We're going to get catering from Popeye's Chicken. It's delicious, and it can easily feed 100 guests for only $500. There is no way on earth I'm showing out thousands of dollars just to rent some fancy building or buy expensive food for a bunch of random people. This day is supposed to be happy for me and my husband to be. That's it. It's not supposed to be an expensive show to impress everybody.
Mary sighed and tried once again to talk sense into her. Teresa, you are a highly educated woman. Surely you will have more class than to have a wedding in a public park catered by Popeye's Chicken. That is so inappropriate. Mary could see her visions of a grand wedding slipping away before her eyes, being replaced with a nightmare of full touristy park goers and fried chicken. Mary shook off the exasperation in her voice and said graciously, Look, if this is about the money, don't worry. I'll pay for everything. You don't have to use your own money. I mean, just think about it. What will people say? Don't you care about that?
Nope.
Teresa flat out refused.
To be frank, Mary, I couldn't care less about what you or anybody else says about my wedding. Besides, isn't it tradition for the bride's family to pay for the wedding? I really don't want you reminding me years from now about how much you paid for my wedding. I won't have you holding that over me.
Sensing the energy in the room suddenly grew tenser, Teresa smiled to show Mary she didn't hate her.
Besides, who doesn't love Popeye's Chicken? Let me tell you something, Mrs. Boyd. People have been talking shit about me for years. I'm sorry, but I'm not spending thousands of dollars on food and a venue for them. I'll be spending my money where I want, on entertainment for my guests and my one-of-a-kind wedding dress. Thank you.
Mary sighed, realizing that she had finally lost. She decided that her only option was to concede gracefully because despite everything, she was a lady and had to show more class than her crass daughter-in-law. Very well, Mary said magnanimously. It is your wedding day after all, my dear. Just remember that it is my son's wedding too. I just thought you wouldn't want to embarrass him, that is all. But in the end, it is your wedding day, so it's your decision to make. Teresa silently cheered in her mind, knowing that she had won.
Oh, don't worry about your son. He likes what I like, and what makes me happy will make him happy. Trust me.
I guess I'll have to trust you now, won't I? Mary said. I just hope that for both of our sakes that you're making the right decision. With that, she picked up her designer bag off the chair and waltzed out the restaurant, leaving only a trace of perfume behind. Teresa left the restaurant feeling victorious. She knew that her mother-in-law-to-be didn't exactly approve of her ways, but she hoped that she at least got her respect for sticking to her guns. Something told her, though, that this was wishful thinking on her part. Still, it really didn't matter. Teresa was over the moon about the prospect of her wedding. People always assumed that Teresa was the more practical sister due to her chosen profession, and she was at least compared to Judy. However, that didn't mean Teresa didn't spend long hours of daydreaming about her big day. While Judy wanted a lavish wedding, all Teresa cared about was the reception and her dress. Who cares about a boring wedding ceremony where all you do is stare at the couple as they read their vows to each other? The real fun starts at the reception, or the after party, as Teresa would like to call it. That is when the people get a chance to let their hair down with their friends and family, dance and drink, and celebrate life and love. That is what was so important to Teresa. She didn't want a cold, impersonal ceremony with several hundred gawking acquaintances. She wanted laughter and festivity surrounded by her closest family and friends, having the wildest, most fun party they could ever dream of. Victor would understand, Teresa thought warmly. Victor did understand. This is why he was marrying her. He accepted her for who she was and gladly went along with her unorthodox plans and ideas. Smiling widely, Teresa hopped in her car and drove home, replaying the to-do list for her wedding in her mind. She had a lot of work to do to arrange everything for her big day, but that will have to wait until the next day. The meeting with Mary had drained her. All she wanted at that point was to go home and unwind. She thought she would give Judy a call to catch up. It had been a while since they had a conversation.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you had fun or picked up anything from this episode, please assist by hitting the like, subscribe, and notification buttons. You can also comment and share our content. These small things really help our channel and means a lot to us. Also, special thanks to our Patreon supporters. You guys are the heartbeat of this channel, and we can't thank you enough for being so generous. If you would like to join our Patreon community, please click on the link below. You can contribute as little as $5 per month. You can get all kinds of perks. You can even buy merchandise of your favorite characters at our shop store. Click on the link provided below. That's going to do it for now. Until next time, remember you are cherished by us, so be kind and know that we consider you as family.